This video is about improving ankle and foot flexibility and toe flexibility to a certain extent. The first thing that I want you to do is simply grab a foot, and even better if you have a magnesium lotion or any lotion or massage oil will help as well. You can sit, you can hook it over, put it on your quad. You can have a straight leg, it doesn't really matter. It's totally up to you. The first thing is just mobilizing the ankle and getting used to what it feels like and ensuring that there aren't any places that feel locked or stuck or hurting. So, grabbing this ankle, and I'm simply going to stretch it. So, I'm going to pull it towards me and then push it up and pull it towards me and push it up. And when I'm pushing it up, I'm grabbing those toes. So you can really see, maybe you can. There we go. You can really see that I can get a good angle with those toes. So doing that, say 5 to 10 times for each foot. Okay. And then, of course, circling the foot and doing that 5 to 10 times in each direction. Okay, even better if you want to interlace your fingers in between the toes. Boop. Little baby toe doesn't always like that. So, but what's nice is, of course, you put your smallest finger in between the space between the baby toe and the next toe, and you can do that mobilization and do this mobilization. So you're stretching out your toes at the same time, which is really good because especially with all the shoes and things that we wear, the feet, toes tend to get squeezed together. And so spreading them out is fantastic. What I also like to do is, of course, give myself a little foot massage, getting into the arch. And my hope is that with this time that you're spending with your foot, you're also improving perhaps the connection that your mind has to this part of your body. So you might notice what feels tight, what likes to get stretched or kind of folded around, and also just how many bones you have in the foot. And so the fact that you have lots of bones means that there's a lot of flexibility or potential flexibility here, right? If you think about feet and hands being almost similar, mirror images of each other, in that we have lots of bones. Also, the bones that we think of as related to toes, right? They go into the foot a lot further than it might look, right? So this bone, there's joints and it continues all the way down into here. So it's good. Sometimes we don't spend a lot of time with feet, most of us. And so getting to know your foot and getting to feel those bones and those muscles and those ligaments, right, can help you build up a greater feel and connection sensitivity to your feet and also what your feet might need, what would benefit them. Then the next thing is a massage ball. And I really like this massage ball in particular. It has a little bit of give, but it's quite firm. But if I stand on it, I can feel it give a little bit. And so I'm going to start by simply massaging the calf. And I'm going to go all the way up right into the base of the foot, or where the foot meets the ankle. And so there's a lot of potentially a lot of tension that can be happening right in here. I can feel it feels really good. So I can hang out there. If I want a little more pressure, I can put my other foot on top, and I can also circle or simply roll back and forth in a straight line. So you play around with what you like, what feels good to you, and you get to decide how much pressure you want to put into this or not. And so using your hands, you can take pressure off. If it's still a lot, you could also grab a towel and use the towel as a barrier, a buffer between your muscle and the ball. It's completely up to you. And ultimately what I want is for you to go all the way down to, or up, I guess, get the ball basically into the base just before the back of the knee. And when you get up higher, you might roll to the side because there's more muscle up here. There's a bigger muscle body up here. So rolling it out to the side, and you can see that I'm actually rolling from the hip, right? So you can see that. And so rolling it out and getting to know your own body. Of course, doing this on both sides. The next thing that I'm going to advise you to do is actually stand up and roll the foot out on the ball. So I'm gonna pop up. I'll do the other foot this time. And where I like to start, you can see that my foot is forming around the ball. So I'm simply putting weight into that leg. I can decide how much weight by using my other leg to balance out. So I can shift my weight over if I want more, or I can shift my weight off that ball if I need less. So I'm letting this passive stretch happen over the ball, letting the bones kind of form around the shape of the ball. And then I'll start up at the toes, and you can see that my toes can grip the ball, and then I can simply roll. And again, circles or lines, it's totally up to you. And then also, if I want to press at a specific point, I can. And when I get into a position that is extending the back of the leg here, that can even be a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of an extra stretch. So I can hold that, I can feel it all the way up into my butt. And I'm breathing. Nice. So once you've rolled out your feet, both right and left, the next thing to do is simply to point and flex. So when I say point, I don't mean this. Sometimes people do this. I just heard it today in a kids dance class. They call this bird beak, which I think is a great image. What I mean when I say point is actually about extending the top of the foot. And when we swim, we're not really putting a lot of pressure into the toes. The foot's actually pretty floppy, but we have a nice extension across the top of the foot. So when we're kicking, we're not holding a lot of tension like that in a point. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to get you to do a few point and flex. So you're going to point your toes and then flex. This time, I want you to think about curving those toes around. So I'm going to really flex the toes, and then I'm going to think of all the way around. And as you can see, I just got a little bit of a cramp. You can see that my toes move differently on each of my feet. So this is something that I am working on. And if you get a little cramp, you can just stretch and massage it out. That's okay. The muscles are just not being used like this, right? Flex and point and flex. And we'll say you can do this 5 to 10 times, right? Then to get a little bit more extension, especially if your ankles are tight, here are 3 versions of this. So my favorite version requires a certain amount of ankle flexibility anyway. And of course, that is simply, I've got the tops of my feet on the floor. And if I want more, I can roll back, bring my knees up, right? And I am stretching out my ankles And the tops of my feet, my toes, the backs of my toes are just flat on the floor. The tops of my toes are just flat on the floor. So they're not rolled under. I'm not doing this. This is different. If I want to stretch out my toes more, I can do this. So I can kneel and put weight. And this is also a great exercise. But if we're talking about getting a little more flexibility in ankles, this is what I mean. Now, that might not be an option. So here's a few versions. So one version, this is a Zafu. It's a meditation cushion. A pillow, folded blanket, folded towel, anything is fine. So you can pop up and see again, the tops of my feet are on the floor and I'm just sitting. This is a lot less pressure on the back of my foot, or the top of my foot. I keep saying the back of my foot. The top of my foot on the floor. This is a lot less pressure. And another option that can be, say, way starting from scratch, you have very stiff ankles, stand up. So standing up, and you can use a wall or a back of a chair or a couch to hold on to. And you're going to simply, and you can see I've got my toes on the floor and I can push my hips forward and or bring this foot back. So I'm now a little bit more on the back of the top of the foot there. So this is more like toe there. And then I can do it on both sides, right? And then one more version is the same idea, but I'm kneeling. So again, if your knee is comfortable like this, or if you want to put a towel under the knee, and then you can put your hand on a wall or the chair or a couch, and same idea. And then again, if I want a little more, I can push my hip forward, or I can bring my foot closer to my body. And I can do that way as well. Nice. Two more. So I'm gonna stand up. Just sequencing through the feet is really useful. So I'm gonna come up on the ball of my foot and then up onto the toe. I'm not putting any pressure on. All of my weight is on the standing leg. So I'm just stretching back on the ball, down on the flat foot. If you want a little bit more, I can come up and then roll. So I'm on the tops of my toes there. Okay. So roll. All right. And this is great because you can feel that you're sequencing through different portions of the foot. And then the last one that I want you to do, I'm going to grab, you can grab a towel or a Kleenex, and then I'm going to show you. Okay, so I've got this face cloth, and ideally you'll do this in standing, and you're simply going to spread your toes wide and then grip and grab the towel. Spread the toes wide, grip and grab the towel. This is great for the muscles in your foot. And you can see that I'm engaging all of these wonderful, here we go, we've got extensors. Yeah. So you want to try and make a little towel bunch, right? And then again, switch feet. So you can do this sitting. You can do this standing up. You can do this on the floor, whatever you want to do. But this will be really helpful for building up your mobility and your strength in your feet. And I really like just really emphasizing that stretch before you then grab. Okay, there's that sequence. I hope that you find this useful. Ideal to do this 2 maybe 3 times a week, but once is fine. And do this for a couple of weeks and then see how those feet and those ankles are feeling. Okay, take care.